Coaches, Rick Stewart with All Access Coaching. I'm really excited. This is the first webinar that I've ever hosted with All Access Coaching. I've been on Coach Austin's end and I've done the webinars for people, Glazier and so forth, but I've never actually hosted one. So this is the first webinar in All Access history. I'm really excited to have Joe with us. Coach Austin. Coach Austin will be doing these once a month. I think we have him down. I think we have him down for the third Monday of every month. He'll be doing these probably up through spring. So just real quick, Coach Austin and I met at the AFCA convention last year at San Antonio. We share a lot of commonalities in that we both are in the pistol. We both love option football. Coach went from shotgun. He moved up to the pistol. I was under center. I went back to pistol. So there was a lot of common threads there. Both of us have to win with really hardworking, great kids. Nick Saban's not sitting in our living room recruiting kids. So we just got to figure out how to work with, the lot that's handed to us. So without further ado, for the first webinar in All Access history, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Joe Austin.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's an honor to be that first webinar, and excited to get to talk to coaches about the Tex-Bone. And I do want to say that I love All Access because I believe in the mission that you talked to me about when we first met is coaches helping coaches, and that's what this is all about. So I'm happy to share all of our knowledge through this webinar about what the Tex-Bone's about and our power option play. So let's get going. And in tonight's webinar, here's some of the things that I'd like to talk about. I'm going to give you the evolution of the Tex-Bone. I think it's kind of an interesting story of how Flexbone and spread kind of came together to make something that we feel is pretty innovative. We'll talk about the philosophy of what it is, and then we'll mention some of the things about why this will be beneficial for coaches, but also some of the drawbacks. Of course, there's no magic bullet for anything. We all wish there was that one magic bullet offense or defense or solution. We'll talk about some of the things that are good, the good and bad about what we're doing. Of course, there's not much bad and a whole lot of good. And then we're gonna chalk talk tonight. So we're gonna go into a lot of depth on our foundational play, which is power option. And of course, most coaches know power. Most coaches that are watching this run power, but you maybe haven't seen it used in triple option before because I don't know that anyone else is really doing that. But that's our foundational play. So we'll chalk talk it with lots of diagrams. And then we'll end up with doing some game film. Let's begin with looking at the evolution of the Tex-Bone, and we refer to this as how the Flexbone and the spread got married. Texas is a spread offense state, coaches, and the offenses are wide open and fast, and the defenses here, a lot of 4-2-5 schemes attempting to match field width and deal with RPOs, and it's a chess match that fuels some of the best football in the nation. But there's outliers, of course, and at Southwestern University, where we are, the Tex-Bone was born, and that's one of those outliers. Our offense was developed in tandem with Tom Ross, and it's triple option for the 21st century. Our new system combines old school Flexbone with a modern spread offense into one Texas-sized attack that leaves our opponent scrambling to solve both the triple option and the spread at the same time. I was raised a spread coach, and as an assistant offense coordinator at Concordia at St. Paul, I helped shape an offense that finished 7th in the NCAA in total offense and 13th in scoring in 2002. Next year, we finished 6th in total offense. From there, I began my offensive coordinating career at Augsburg College in 2004 before moving to the University of Dubuque in 2005. My year at Augsburg was my first experience working with Tom Ross, who would eventually collaborate with me to create the Tex-Bone. At Dubuque, our offenses became the tops in the Iowa Intercollegiate Conference. Our achievements helped to revitalize the Spartan program that was mired in 2 decades of losing seasons. In my first year of 2005, the Spartans finished 20th in the NCAA in passing. By my last year of 2007, we're 27th in the nation in both scoring offense and total offense and 29th in rushing. In 2019, our quarterback, Jamar Jackson, was inducted into the University of Dubuque Athletic Hall of Fame. In 2008, I became the head coach and offense coordinator at Hanover College in Indiana. Serving as architects of another rebuild, our staff guided the Panthers to back-to-back second-place finishes in the Heartland Intercollegiate Conference. My tenure at Hanover was highlighted by the performance of wide receiver Daniel Pacifume, who in 2009 set the all-time, all-divisions record for catches in a game with 25 against Franklin College. 2 of our receivers won NCAA statistical championships for receptions, Tyler Thames and Pacifume, who's number 1 in this picture. The Panthers finished 9th in the NCAA in passing offense in 2009. In my fourth year, the Panthers finished third in the nation in red zone offensive efficiency, 30th in passing and 35th in scoring. I was given the task of reintroducing football at Southwestern University in 2012. This has become my greatest challenges thus far, coaches. Dubuque and Hanover were rebuild jobs. Southwestern was a rebirth. Once a charter member of the Southwest Conference, the school dropped football in 1950 and didn't bring it back to the field until the fall of 2013. By 2016, we had built the top offense in the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference. The season culminated with the conference championship, and I was humbled to receive Coach of the Year honors from my peers. Tom Ross joined our staff in 2008 at Hanover College as a defensive coordinator. Coach Ross always provided productive and excellent insights on offense at both Augsburg and Hanover, even though his focus was the defense. Tom stayed on the defensive side until 2016 when the time was right for him to move to offense with me. Tom was the head coach of the Stuttgart Scorpions in the first division of the German Football League after our time together at Augsburg and prior to us reuniting at Hanover. Tom's Flexbone attack with the Scorpions was the equivalent of a Panzer tank, running roughshod over the Southern Conference of the GFL and landing the team in the German Bowl for the first time in team history. Tom was elected to the Scorpions Hall of Fame in 2016. He remains the most iconic coach in the history of the organization to this day. But back to the evolution of the Tex-Bone. Tom joined me on the offensive side in 2016. The original idea was to add Tom's Flexbone as an auxiliary offense to complement our existing spread. The hybrid system became the top offense in the SCAC, powering us to a 6-0 conference record in the conference championship. At that point, the Tex-Bone really didn't exist yet in its final form. The spread and option offenses remained separate components that we used in different situations depending on the game plan. For example, Brian Hicks, our senior quarterback and spread expert, didn't even practice the option. But don't worry, Brian's done just fine. 2020 will be his fourth year playing professionally, and last year in 2019, he set the national arena record for touchdown passes in one game with 9. It was our freshman understudy, Fred Hover, that ran the option in 2016, and the task of mastering the option and the spread was especially challenging and rewarding for Fred. Fred Hover's accomplishments in that year as an understudy was a big part in the emergence of the Tex-Bone. The idea of using a primary and auxiliary offense wasn't a new one for us. We had done this previously at Augsburg College in 2004. Coach Ross, as a defensive coordinator and associate head coach, suggested to me that we add some Flexbone triple option to our team's repertoire for our last game of the year against St. Olaf College. We wanted to see how it would look and explore it and see if it was something we could carry forward into the future. The first litmus test of triple option yielded 364 rushing yards, 526 total yards, and 42 points. The seed was planted. Though the experiment didn't continue into the next year, as we both left Augsburg College after the 2004 season, I carried the lessons learned about triple option to the University of Dubuque. As a way to help rebuild our program at Dubuque, I incorporated the Flexbone into several game plans for 2 seasons until our primary spread offense was running at breakneck speed. At that point, the triple option was relegated to the back page of the playbook and put into hibernation until 2016, when the marrying of the Flexbone and spread resumed. The Tex-Bone was really born and came into its full fruition in 2017. Our plan at the time was still to keep the primary and auxiliary offenses separate after the previous year's success in the championship in 2016. There's one complicating factor with this decision, however, and that was our quarterback, Fred Hover. He was adroit at running both the spread and the option. We knew that we needed to start developing ways to make everything congruent, and the dual-skilled luxury led to the organic evolution of game plans that included more and more triple option from spread formations. Naturally, there was still plenty of pure Flexbone and plenty of pure spread, but ultimately, it was the hybrid elements, the 21st century triple option, that became the big play catalysts. The results spoke for themselves as the Pirates finished 7th in the nation in rushing and 9th in total offense in 2017. Defenses didn't know what was coming with their different formations, personnel groups, and schemes. Was it a spread play? Was it triple option? It was hard to defend by design. Over our first 2 years in the American Southwest Conference, we faced 11 opponents ranked in the national polls, 5 playoff teams, 3 conference champions, and 2 national champions. To say we played good competition is a strong understatement. Against the best of what Division III offers, we've averaged 36 points per game with the Tex-Bone. In the process, we posted our 2nd and 3rd consecutive winning seasons, and the Tex-Bone is here to stay.
Wow, Coach, did I hear that right? 16 years, was it at Hanover, you said?
At Dubuque. 16 straight losing seasons, yeah.
Wow. Wow. You call that a rebuild, and now you're at a rebirth. I like that word. No football for 62 years in the state of Texas.
That's correct. And the only thing worse than not playing football in Texas is being bad at football in Texas. So we better keep winning.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's exciting. That's exciting. Well, hey, let's just keep going. This is good stuff.
Well, let's get into the philosophy and talk about what the Tex-Bone is and how it works. And as I mentioned, it's triple option for the 21st century. It's a marriage of triple option that spread that happened organically, where after we'd finally merged them together, we looked at each other and like, why didn't we do this earlier? But it's become something that's really unique and it has a lot of advantages. It's triple option schemes for non-traditional option alignments. It's added versatility in where you can put your dive back and where you can put your pitch back and what you can do with your quarterbacks, the style of quarterbacks you can have, a lot of advantages to this. Spread defensive philosophies provide predictable alignments. And here's what I mean. High schools, for example, you're going to have trade film. And you're going to get a couple tapes, depending on what your conference is, 2 tapes, maybe get the whole season. But you're going to have an idea, a really good idea, of what your opponent's going to do. How do they line up to 3-by-1 open? How do they line up to 2-by-2 open and 2-by-1 open? And do they put the 3 technique to the tight end? You're going to know all these things because every team has a spread defensive philosophy because that's what they're playing against every week. You're going to be able to take this knowledge and use it to your advantage by applying triple option to that, which makes you unpredictable to defend. Because he talked about having both spread and triple option elements, which you'll see as you dive into the Tex-Bone system. Every play could be spread or option-based. There's not a tip-off by what formation you're in. For example, we'll run power read, a traditional one-back play from Flexbone, and we'll run option from 3-by-1 open or 2-by-2 open or 2-by-1 open or with a tight end. That's some unpredictability that can be a really big advantage for your football team. There's some modern advances to these time-tested schemes that eliminate some limitations. For example, if you're running under center Flexbone, you're probably used to having to start your pitch player early. He's got to come in motion and work back behind the quarterback so that he gets there fast enough. By backing your quarterback up into the shotgun, you're delaying the mesh just ever so slightly, which allows you to have him stationary or even not even be in the backfield at all. He can be the opposite wing. He can be in the slot. He can be coming from motion. So it's some advancements to schemes that have been really good for a long time, to veer and to belly and things that are just staples of option football. Some of these old school limitations are gone, and we'll talk more about shotgun versus under center, but there's some advantages by moving to the shotgun, which we'll talk about. We really like that by running the Tex-Bone system. Your spread gets a pass because all the prep time goes to defending option. So as you keep some spread elements and adopt some of our spread elements with your option game, what's the defense going to work on? They're going to work on defending the option. Every time you line up, no matter what the formation, what the personnel group is, the defense has to know, how do I defend the dive? How do I defend the quarterback? And how do I defend the pitch? They're not working on your 4 verticals. They're not working on your stick route pass play. They're working on that. So you're going to get simpler looks. You're going to get basic looks. And what teams are going to do a lot of times is rather than reinvent the wheel for one game to play a Tex-Bone one time in a season, they're going to take their spread philosophy and adapt it to how they cover option football. You're going to be able to predict how teams are going to play with their dive keys and their pitch keys. To stop the option defense leads to big plays and play action. Now, of course, just like all option teams, we do work a little bit of drop back. Occasionally you get into those situations where you have to do that or want to do that to your advantage. But we are a play action system. And we've got a lot of explosive play action passes that come about because the defense has to stop the option. Again, every play, how do we stop the dive? How do we stop the quarterback? How do we stop the pitch? That takes linebackers out of coverage. That takes safeties out of coverage. We'll use the corners as the pitch key sometime. That takes corners out of coverage. And that leads to some really effective play action passes. We hold our conference record in yards per attempt and yards per completion. That makes us an effective passing team. We may not throw as many passes as some teams, but when we throw it, we mean it. A big advantage is that our runs and passes look identical. Again, this makes the play action plentiful. We're going to talk tonight, and we're going to teach you our power option running play. And within the courses of the Tex-Bone, there's a course that talks about our passes off of our power option. How we make the play look like triple option and then have passing concepts off of that. And that's the same way through the system is every play that we run, whether it's veer, whether it's belly, which we call our G load play, there's a pass protection that is identical to the run scheme, and it really sets up a lot of effective play action. So now that you know a little bit about what it is, why the Tex-Bone? Why might you want to look at this as a solution for your team, whether it's a youth team or a high school team, whatever level you're coaching at, this can be a good fit for you. And let me just start off by talking about, Rick, and I give you credit for this. As you and I were fleshing out the Tex-Bone system and getting it ready for All Access, you're the first one to say, Joe, I think this is a toolbox for coaches. And I think you're right. And what you'll find out is because it's two offenses in one, we have spread elements and we have option elements, you're going to be able to take the tools that you need for that game or that season and use them. You'll have different quarterbacks from year to year. You may be thinking with an option-based system, I've got to have the 4-4-40 guy that's brilliant at making reads and making decisions. That's not going to be true. You're going to be able to be effective with who you have because some years you're going to focus on some elements of the system and maybe some years other elements, but you're never going to have to scrap it. So if you're at a school, for example, that wants to put something in a middle school and run it all the way through high school, your players change a little bit, but the system can stay the same. You take the tool out of your box, it's going to be right for the players you have from game to game, from year to year, whatever your situation may dictate.
So to run option football, make sure I'm clear. I don't need Lamar Jackson. I don't need a Michael Vick. I don't need the track star to play quarterback.
No, sir, you don't. And it's just as you described it because we're playing with a toolbox. And we can accentuate and we can also work to the strengths of that particular player you have. And if there's elements that he's not going to be good at in that year, again, you don't need a new system. You can focus on the things that he's going to be best at while you're coaching him and working to develop him. You don't have to have a cookie-cutter quarterback to do this.
As long as he can make the reads.
Correct.
But I think you're going to hit on it. I don't want to take away your thunder. There's lots of plays in this toolbox that involve no reads.
That's correct. So whatever your skill level your quarterback is, of course, the ideal quarterback for the Tex-Bone is someone that's going to be really good at reading defenders. But if you have a quarterback that's just learning that or struggling with that, there are a lot of plays where there are no reads. And if that's the toolbox that you're using that part of the year, then you can definitely do that.
Awesome.
So we think that our uniqueness with our Tex-Bone system makes it difficult to prepare for. There's no one else in our league and in our region, anyone that we see on film that I know of that's doing anything like this, where they've taken all these modern spread formations and turned them into ways to run triple option. And uniqueness can be a really big asset, especially if you don't have that Lamar Jackson at quarterback, or if your line maybe isn't as big as everyone else's. When we won our conference championship, we had two starting guards that were 240 pounds, and for the guys we're going up against, that wasn't big, and so we had to definitely use our uniqueness to our advantage, and we did. There's an economy of techniques, and that allows you to teach this offense at any level. You don't need college-level experienced players to be able to do this because you're not going to be teaching them 7 different ways to step and 9 different ways to pull and 5 different ways to use their hands. It's an economy of techniques that can be applied to all skill levels. And of course, that simplicity is not a drawback at the college level. I believe that simplicity lets players play fast and be accurate and really be aggressive. But the key is that this economy of techniques is going to make this applicable to whatever level of football you want to teach this at. We talked before about how spread formations create predictable alignments, but I don't think that can be glossed over. It's a really big key for the Tex-Bone. When you line up in an under center Flexbone formation, who knows what you're going to get. This week when I was on the exercise bike, I pulled up on Huddle, a Navy game from a year or two ago. I don't remember exactly when against, I think Western Kentucky. And there were 68 plays, 61 of them, it was under center Flexbone. And I think I counted 9 different defenses that they saw. Now, there were some sound ones. There were some real defenses, some 4-3 cover 4 and some 4-4 cover 3. And then there were some things where they were just throwing stuff against the wall. Real late rotations, trying to overload the field or the boundary. Just some things that that they just drew up. When you get into some spread formations where defenses are comfortable lining up to that, then you're going to get those predictable alignments. And predictable alignments are going to let your quarterback be more successful, make better reads, better ball distribution. It's going to let your linemen be more accurate in how they block. Just a lot of benefits to running option from the spread. You get to play against base defenses because of option football. When teams have to cover the dive, the quarterback, and the pitch, you're not going to see 7 different ways most of the time for them to do that. Now, of course, Navy was in one formation the whole game, so they saw a little bit more variety. When you can run option from all of your base formations, you're only going to get a few looks, a lot of times only one look. It's two offenses with one set of players. You can keep spread elements. You can adopt our spread elements if you'd like to. But with one set of players, you're going to be able to run the one-back spread stuff. As Rick said, there's plays with no reads or straight handoffs from a lot of our one-back things. But also you're going to be able to incorporate the really unique option things that are time-tested and have really never been paired a lot with spread formations. This is going to work with your personnel. And again, we're talking about how adaptable this is and how you can apply it. And you can use this from year to year by highlighting the different tools in that Tex-Bone toolbox. And it's going to work with your players to a certain extent. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat by telling you about my season. I'm telling you about my season because it's cathartic to talk to other coaches about when things don't go to plan. So this year, we lost 7 of our 11 starters on defense. In fact, we lost a full 50% of our 2D. And all 4 of our returning all-conference defenders were out by the end of the season. And in several games, we're starting as many as 4 true freshmen. So we didn't play quite as good a defense as we had been playing. On offense, our quarterback troubles really were the story. We played 5 different quarterbacks throughout the season, coaches, so you can identify with how difficult that may be. Our 5th quarterback on our depth chart played extensively in 2 different games, and our number 1 quarterback coming into the season played in only 9 quarters. Our best player, a 3-time all-conference receiver, he didn't finish the season. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we can, and you can as well within the Tex-Bone, make this fit your players. But if you get down to your 5th quarterback, sometimes you get down to your 5th quarterback. And there's, as you said, there's just no magic bullet. But we could really still be successful doing things the way we did. So we played 5 different quarterbacks, and we were still a top 25 rushing team. Now, we weren't ranked number 7 like we were a couple of years ago, but we hung in there. And if we can hang in there getting down to our 5th quarterback and playing 3 different true freshman quarterback, then you can do the same thing as well. You can keep your best spread elements, and you can even keep parts of your language. So again, as you grab the Tex-Bone, you may take it off the shelf and say, this is what I'm doing. I love these spread elements. I'm going to take it all in total because they really do pair well together. Our 1-back runs complement our 2-back and 3-back runs. But if there's something you're really good at and it really fits your players and your quarterback's trained in, you can keep it. And you can even keep some of your language. For example, if you already run power, we run 3 types of power. In the Tex-Bone system, we'll tell you the numbers we use for it. You don't have to use those numbers. Maybe you're a word guy. Maybe it's Ford right and Chevy left, whatever it may be, however you call power, you can keep that. And so it's really, we talked about it being a toolbox. You can even tinker with the tools in there as you implement this. The only limit to this is your imagination. Again, you can keep spread elements. You can add our spread elements. You can add language. You can take our language. You can be really multiple with formations, really multiple with personnel. And it's going to give you a lot of versatility. I think there's a lot of advantages in game planning in the Tex-Bone that we've learned in the time that we've been doing this. And we mentioned a little bit of this before. Flexbone defenses are tough to predict. So if you're a Flexbone coach or a wing T coach, you're probably used to going through a week of preparation, but not a lot of idea on how you're going to be defended. That can be difficult because you want to train your players and you want to give them a really good idea of what's going on. And so if you're a team that's trading film, but your trade film isn't helping you, you're going to be able to get into spread formations where the spread defenses are a little bit more easier to predict. Now, the other side of that coin is you may be a youth coach, and at your level, you're not trading any film yet. So you go into each week, and you get there, and you're just finding out what teams are going to do, and you're going as you go throughout the game. That's just fine too, because the Tex-Bone is a rule-based system. So if you don't know what they're going to do, the rules of the play are going to take over. It allows your players to be aggressive. It allows your quarterback to make ball distribution decisions. It allows your slots and wings to know where they're going to block, which we'll talk about later on when we do some chalk talk. That's what the Tex-Bone is going to do. It's going to allow you to maximize your advantage when you have trade film, but it's going to eliminate any disadvantage of not knowing what the team's going to do. And of course, there may be that situation which we all run into where you think you know how an opponent's going to defend you. You get into the game and they change it. That's where the knowledge of our rules take over. And the fact that our players learn the rules of the game, the rules of engagement, they can apply it, and it makes the Tex-Bone applicable from youth all the way up through. And again, that ties into the economy of techniques. The plays are rule-based, and the techniques are few and easy to understand. That lets your players be aggressive from youth all the way up through to whatever level you might want to take this to. So who might benefit? Of course, the obvious one are coaches that might be needing a change. And there's always a group of those coaches, and we're all there at some point in our coaching careers where we feel like we need a course change, some element of our program. And if it's your offense, then the Tex-Bone might be something that you like for the second bullet point because it's going to be unique. When Rick was talking about our introduction, he talked about some of the challenges that he has our team, and same thing with my team at our NCAA Division III level. We're very academically rigorous in relation to the teams that we're playing against. And so our recruiting pool is smaller, which means we have to sometimes do more with less, and being unique has been a big benefit for our football players. If you think being unique can be a benefit for you too, and really who can't benefit from being unique, this is going to be something that'll be good to pick up. No one else is going to be doing this exact thing in your conference, at least for a while. Coaches looking to maximize their specific players, the Tex-Bone fits that really well. If you do have that year where you've got Lamar Jackson for 2 years as a junior and senior, this is going to allow you to showcase his highlights and put them on full display. Maybe it's a split end wide receiver that you want to get in one-on-one situations. That's what the Tex-Bone does through play action. Maybe it's a slot wing player that you want to hand the ball to, you want to pitch the ball to. You want to have him throw something off a reverse. The Tex-Bone has all those elements. It's the same thing with your alignment. You can work to the skills of your alignment. If you have stay-at-home guys that aren't great pullers, you're going to do a lot of the base blocking stuff, a lot of the ISOs. The veer might be your option scheme of choice. If you've got guys that run and pull, they're looking at running some belly or looking at running a lot of power. You can really fit to the skills of your offense. Coaches that might feel overmatched may want to look into this in that you're looking for some things that level the field. You're looking for ways to have the defense be predictable and be simple, ways to utilize the skills of your players, all the things you've already talked about. If those things add up to you wanting to negate that feeling of being overmatched from an athletic standpoint, the Tex-Bone is a great solution for leveling the playing field. There's spread coaches out there that might be looking to diversify. And really, that was me when I started working with Tom Ross and learning about his option background, was I thought it was a great way to diversify. And so this is a great compliment to coaches that, like me, were raised as spread coaches who want to expand and become even more difficult to defend. The other side of that coin is option coaches that want to modernize. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the under center Flexbone. It's a work of art. The wing tee is a thing of beauty. But this is just a little bit different take on it. And for option coaches that want to modernize and back up into the shotgun pistol and have more options of where the pitch back comes from and not have to motion the pitch back pre-snap, this can be a great advancement for those coaches. And again, this is for college, it's for high school, it's for youth coaches because it's rule-based and the techniques are simple. This is turnkey through the explanations that I'm working to give through all the different courses. And of course, I'm going to be available to support you at any point because that's the mission of All Access is coaches helping coaches. Now, why not the Tex-Bone? Of course, this has to fit into your coaching philosophy. It has to fit your position coaches. And one of the things is, for example, double teams are de-emphasized. And the play caller and the offensive line coach need to be on the same page. When we talk about power, we're going to talk about a power play that doesn't utilize double teams. On traditional power, if there's a three technique, a lot of time that guard and tackle are going to put their butts together and try to drive that three technique to the goal line. That's not what we're looking for in our power triple option play. We're looking for horizontal displacement to clear out room for the dive back to hit the A-gap. If that's not something you're interested in, if it's not the footwork and the techniques that you want to teach, then this might not be for you. The one place where I do think you want to have at least one standout player, and everyone has at least one, is at that wing slot position, because that's going to be a guy that has to do a few different things. If he's on the front side of the play, he's going to have to be a blocker. If he's on the back side of the play, really anywhere, he can be the pitch guy, He can also be a guy that you can hand the ball to. So you're going to want to make sure that you find an athlete that can be fairly versatile to have in that wing slot type position. Of course, you have to be able to train your trigger man to make some dive key reads and some pitch key reads. He doesn't have to, again, be the 4-4 guy. If you find that no one in your program is ready to do that yet, you can totally de-emphasize that. You can go to some double option plays, like speed option. You can adapt your power play, as we'll talk about, to a double option play rather than a triple option play, where you can be in more spread elements where you don't have to read anyone. You can get into empty Flexbone where you don't have to read anyone. You can make this work. But of course, the better you're going to do is if you have someone that can make a few decisions. The final thing, which maybe is the biggest one, is you're going to go to an option system like the Tex-Bone. Option football is a commitment. So as the head coach or the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, the running back coach, you've got to make a commitment to the time it takes. Working on your dive phase of your plays and your pitch phase of your plays is something you've got to be doing, I say every day, but at least multiple times a week. So you have to figure out if you want to make that commitment and stick to it, because option football is something where you get out of it what you put into it. Shotgun versus under center is another interesting way to look at the Tex-Bone, talk about its key attributes, but also if it's going to be the right system for you. We talked about one of the advances and one of the advantages is that you don't have to motion to get your pitch player in relationship. In fact, you can have other motions that necessarily don't take you to the ball, whereas with under center Flexbone, for example, which we grew out of, that backside wing a lot of time is coming around to be the pitch player. And guess what the defense sees? He sees that backside pitch player coming around to get in pitch phase. They start bumping and rotating. There's counter option that can dissuade that a little bit, but we're going to get rid of that. You don't have to motion people pre-snap to get into alignment. Being in the shotgun also allows more pitch players and more formations to choose from. By being in the shotgun, the timing of that dive and the point of that dive changes just slightly enough that allows you to have a stationary slot be the pitch man, or some funky motion with the wing to be a pitch man. There's a lot more options than there is with just your traditional Flexbone formation. Now here's a trade-off. We don't feel like our dive hits much slower than being under center. In fact, it hits at almost the same time. If you watch Navy play, their dive takes place at 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. The center snaps it through his body for a yard. The quarterback steps back a yard before he does his dive mesh. We start our quarterback at 4 yards, and he steps downhill to 2 to 2.5 yards. But that little bit of depth and the time it takes to snap the ball back has made a few option plays difficult. The midline and freeze plays where you're reading the B-gap player or the 3 technique, we found that to be difficult. That 3 technique can really just get to your mesh point and make that play a headache. So that's a trade-off. There's plenty of triple option that we can do and that we love, but the inside B-gap player read has been a little bit difficult for us. Now, let me talk about what you do gain. We love the shotgun quarterback sneak, Rick. It's one of the biggest things that we've loved by getting into the pistol. We have such success with the 3rd and short, 4th and short goal line, and here's why we love it. One, you got the bush push right in there. If your quarterback's at the line of scrimmage, your pistol back is there to finish off and get him across the goal line. But also, the quarterback can see what's going on. And Rick, we've hit that quarterback sneak all the way out in the C-gap. When the defense really pinches on your wedge play and the end comes down, the quarterback's behind the line of scrimmage taking the snap. He can just work out to the outside and take it into the end zone. He can hit the B-gap. We really like it. We snap to our quarterback, and he's working downhill at the snap. He has just enough time to see where he goes. So we've lost our midline. We lost our freeze, which we ran early on in our Flexbone days. But what we've gained is, we think, a really great short yardage and red zone play.
Wow, that's crazy. When I went from under center to pistol, we stopped doing the quarterback sneak. And I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't even experiment with it. I just assumed, like all of our defensive coordinators, hey, they're in pistol and shotgun. Quarterback sneaks not on the table. So I'm excited to see that. Hey, Coach, I'm curious because we struggle with this. When we went from under center to pistol, we were really worried that the fullback plays, the downhill plays, guard trap, our belly play, inside veer play, was going to hit slower. I'm wondering if you feel the same way. I can make a strong argument that when we went to pistol, I don't think we lost anything on our downhill running game. I think our fullback, same as yours, his heels are at 5. Um, I feel like our downhill running plays out of pistol are still just as effective as we under center. You could argue, I mean, you're splitting hairs. There might be a fraction of a second our guard trap play hits a little slower. I'm just curious your perspective of moving that when you went to pistol.
I think you're right. We don't feel that we've lost any production off the fullback game by the shotgun alignment. I think you're right. It may be a hair slower on some plays, which has made that midline and freeze more difficult. But again, what we gained, I think, far outweighs it with things like the shotgun sneak and by the ability to have the pitch player in so many different places by being in the shotgun. If it is a touch slower, it's just a hair. And I think what we've gained far outweighs what we've given.
We felt like also we gained in the passing game. You went from shotgun to pistol, so you weren't losing in the passing game. We were going from under center and backing our guy up, which a lot of the guys in this video might be under center Flexbone guys. I just loved what we gained in the passing game with our pre and post snap reads now. I'm not so much going into the RPO sexy world yet, but by just backing our quarterback up, and actually our option game, our quarterbacks have always said that they felt like making their reads, reading the 5 techs and the 3 techs was a lot easier out of the pistol. They felt a lot more comfortable. So I agree with you. Yeah.
I think I play quarterback myself. I think the sight lines of any system from the shotgun are just better. You're up higher. Just your sight lines to dive keys and pitch keys and safeties. Your sight lines are so much improved by having your quarterback.
Yeah. So you could have the half a second on guard trap, and I'll gain all this pre and post snap read stuff.
I agree. We're on the same page there. So let's talk about this foundational play, about our power option play. It's the foundational thing, and that's where I want to start for folks that are just getting their first taste on the Flexbone. And let's start with the origins of the power play. I'm sure most coaches can draw it on the napkin right in front of them, but they may not know the true history of it. It's a pretty cool story. The concept was first introduced at the University of Michigan in the 1905 playbook of their head coach Fielding Yost. And Yost was a legend. 6 national championships at Michigan. I'm sure they'd love to dig him up right now, all the Michigan fans that are not satisfied with not beating Ohio State and whatnot, but I digress. But from 1901 to 1905, his point-a-minute squads, as they were called, outscored their opponents 2,821 to 42. Talk about a margin. And they posted a 55-1-1 record. So this concept of power football, which is down blocking on the front side and pulling your backside guard around to create an extra gap, that came out of the 1905 playbook at the University of Michigan. So here's a quick look at a basic power play. And of course, its main feature is 2 lead blockers. And on the front side, you've got down blocks to create space. We've talked before about the different philosophies. For us, we're not really double teaming. We've got a 3-4 defense here just as a generic way to look at it. But you're down blocking to create space, to clear out things on the front side, and to pick up the backside linebacker. The big key to this play is that the backside guard pulls to the front side, and in doing so, he creates an extra gap. So we're looking at a guard tackle front where you have an A gap, B gap, C gap, a 2-man surface. When you pull that guard around, you just created a 3-man surface and 4 gaps. So that's the problem for the defense in power football, is how do we get enough players to the point of attack to counter the fact that the offense has just added an extra gap. In your traditional power play, you have a fullback that blocks a defensive end, typically kicking him out to run inside. And of course, one back power now is taking away your need to block him. Now you can read him, and in the Tex-Bone, we'll read him a variety of ways. The way we'll read him tonight in our power option play is talking about making him the dive key. Over time, there's been multiple permutations of this. I'm sure most coaches are aware of it. Counter tray, where you pull both the backside guard and tackle, or H-back power, where you pull the guard and the H-back. You've got power read. We mentioned that as a one-back play. Lots of different ways to run power. It is one of the most solid football plays around. It's an element of so many different systems and philosophies, and it's a huge part of what we do with the Tex-Bone. So how is the Tex-Bone using power option? Well, again, it's the foundation of our 21st century triple option. It's the first option system to use power as the base scheme. And we do this for all the benefits that we have. We're able to get a lot of horizontal horizontal and vertical displacement. So when you're running triple option and you're running it as a true triple option play, we're going to have a dive player as your first choice. You got to create space. Power is known for creating space. And so we use our power play to create that space for our fullback, our dive player, to get through the line of scrimmage with the football. Power is good against every front. We don't have to check. We don't have to change. There's no time that you can't run power, no matter what formation that you're in. As all Tex-Bone plays are, this is a rule-based play. Your players are aggressive because the techniques are simple, the rules are simple. They're going to get off the ball and go. Pardon me. We also like this because it's easily paired with their play action and our other run plays. So coaches, here's a look at our power option scheme. We've drawn it against a 3-4. We've also drawn it against a 4-4, just so you can see some of the differences. All right, coaches, let's take a look at our power option play, and we're going to go through the fundamentals of all of our positions as we look at this. Of course, we have our down blocks on the front side. Our center is going to back block. Our backside guard is going to pull the front side linebacker. We'll also talk about our dive keys, our pitch keys, and the fundamentals of each of our players as they do each. As you look at this, oh, darn it. As we look at this play versus blitz, we see that not much changes. Our front side down blocks don't change. In fact, what happens when we see blitz is our quarterback gets excited because he knows he's going to be able to get the ball to the perimeter and create some big plays. What we have drawn here is a simple edge blitz where the dive key now is going to spike inside and try to play the B gap, while our pitch player is going to play the C gap. Our tackle is not going to wait. He doesn't want to wait and take the dive key and block him. He's going to try to get going to level 2, or in the bottom picture, get going to block the 3 technique so that the dive comes off of his butt. And he tackles the dive player in the quarterback. Oh, darn it. All right, try this again. When we look at power option against a blitz, we see that it's a big play opportunity. In fact, our quarterback, when he sees blitz, he gets excited. Our down blockers are going to execute the same thing. And our play side tackle, he's not going to wait for the dive key. He's going to get going, allowing the dive key to come down hard and cancel out the dive phase. When this happens, it's not a problem. It allows our quarterback to get to the edge of the defense and work on our pitch phase. Let's start our deep dive, coaches, by looking at our fullback fundamentals. Our fullback is always on an A-gap dive. That way he knows where the quarterback will be, and he knows what's going to be in front of him. All of our paths are identical through the mesh point. Our fullback steps with the play side foot first with his inside elbow up. We want our fullback to hit fast. On level 1, he's trying to clear this as fast as he can. He has to see what down blocks are happening in front of him. And the worst case scenario is if we don't get a bunch of movement, for example, on a 3 technique, you may have to make a subtle cut to the outside. But ideally, if our down blockers do their job, they're going to clear things out, and our fullback's going to hit downhill through level 1 quickly. Now, the level 2 read can be just slightly more complicated, in that as the guard pulls, the front side linebacker can move. He could fill or he could scrape, and our fullback has to learn how to adjust based off of where the guard pulls and fits on the linebacker. Man. All right. We also utilize a tight fullback path. We utilize this when the defensive end may be making it hard for a quarterback. The tighter fullback path makes the defensive end react even faster as to whether he's going to take the quarterback or come all the way down to cancel the dive. The third path that we utilize is we call our fullback load. In this case, we'll block the dive key with our fullback. If the defensive end we're playing is coming down consistently tackling the dive player, we'll let him be the aggressor and work to tackle. Oh, geez. The third fullback path that we'll use is a fullback load path. We'll use this to let our dive player be the aggressor. If the defensive end we're playing is coming down and canceling the dive consistently, we'll let our fullback be the aggressor. We'll let him work to the outside and cancel him with a log or a cut block. We also like this because it lets our quarterback get out to the pitch phase of the triple option play for sure. So by doing this, we take the play from a triple option play to a double option play. Quarterback fundamentals. Our quarterbacks can be stepping downhill. We want our dive to get tight to the line of scrimmage and cancel out some of the space created by the shotgun. His first step's to the outside leg of the center. His second step will get him square to the fullback who he knows is coming downhill at the A gap. An important coaching point is that his feet are angled into the line of scrimmage. We don't want the quarterback's feet to be pointed at the sideline because that's not where he's running. If he pulls the ball, he's running to the alley, which is between the end of the line of scrimmage and the contained player. We want his feet pointed towards that alley so he can get going there. You need to train your quarterback so you need to train your quarterback so that he's not guessing. You'll need to allow him to have really clear rules and what he needs to do. For us, our quarterback's role in the dive phase is he's giving the dive unless he can't. This makes it easier for the quarterback. He's not taking the snap and guess, am I going to give it or am I going to keep it? He wants to give the ball unless the dive key won't let him. We're going to ride this to our front foot. So the quarterback's going to find the fullback with the ball at his back hip. And he's going to stay with the fullback all the way till the ball gets to his front hip. That way he can gather as much information as possible on what the dive key is forcing him to do, whether it's a give, which we'd like to do, or if he's forced to pull. Now, if he does pull the football, once he gets to the alley, we change our rules. When the quarterback pulls the ball and gets to the alley, it's his ball unless the pitch key makes him give it up. So again, our quarterback has rules. He knows that in the pitch phase, he wants to keep the ball unless they won't let him. In both phases, the quarterback knows what he wants to do, and this makes it easier for him to execute. The pitch player fundamentals are fairly simple, but they're very important. We talked about the advantage by being in the shotgun of not needing to motion your pitch back pre-snap, but he does need to get going at the snap. So he has to gain ground with his first step. Any false steps, switching his feet, any lost movement will keep him from getting into the right position to receive the pitch. We ask our pitch player when coming from the backside to aim at the quarterback's feet. If he aims at the quarterback's feet, he won't get too much depth, which will keep him from getting around fast enough. Finally, we want our pitch player to get enough width so that he can get downhill to receive the pitch. We talk about our pitch player receiving the pitch 4 to 5 yards from the quarterback. Some coaches will say 4, some will say 5. I say things move too much in real time to get that specific. We're going to be in that 4 to 5 range where the pitch player is going to move with the quarterback to make sure he stays in the proper alignment. The bigger thing for us is making sure that we catch the ball going downhill towards the end zone. We don't want to receive the pitch running to the sideline. We want to receive the pitch working downhill to the end zone. The opposite winger slot has a really important job because he's going to be a blocker if he's not the pitch player. And again, we're rule-based. It allows our players to, whatever defense they see, know exactly how they want to execute. They have a rule based on whether there's 2 safeties or 1 safety. And I'm going to show you several diagrams to follow this to make it really visual so we can understand it. If there's 2 safeties, the play side winger slot goes to the safety immediately. If there's 1 safety, the play side winger slot has to check for a scraping linebacker before working to the single safety. And let's look at how this looks in schematic diagrams. So here is our shotgun pistol alignment flexbone formation. Our front side wing identifies pre-snap a 2 high safety defense. He knows that he's going to work straight to the safety. Why can he do this? Let's assume 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. Our pulling guard should be able to work to this true middle linebacker, allowing our wing to work right to the safety. We'll also talk later on that this is important for not leaving anyone unblocked at the point of attack. When we move to spread, here's a 2-by-1 open formation. The same slot wing player has the same rule. He's going to work right to the level 2 safety. Now, don't let the diagram fool you. It may look like he's running at the pitch key. He's trying to get the ball behind him to improve his blocking angle going to the safety. Now let's look at a one high safety defense. In this case, the wing slots rule, again, whether it's spread or flexbone, is he has to block a scraping linebacker first before working to the safety. Why does he have to be worried about the linebacker? Assuming 4 defensive linemen again, now we're looking at a 4-backer structure with a play side linebacker that may more easily cross face of the guard and get to the point of attack. Think of the pulling guard and the wing on this play as working in tandem. They're both checking the linebacker first, and whomever doesn't get him will work to the safety. When going to spread, the rules don't change. Our slot player now is going to still work inside, look for the scraping linebacker. If the scraping linebacker is taken by the guard, he's off to the safety. If the scraping linebacker defeats the pull, now the puller is up to the safety. Now, offensive line fundamentals. Our front side down blocks are very crucial because we talked about trying to clear space for the dive player. So what our front side down blocks are trying to do is take any gap threat first. So for example, a B gap or player, a 3 technique would be taken by our guard. If there's no gap threat, they're looking for a looper, meaning a lineman coming to him, and then working to the backside linebacker. So we say gap down backer. Gap threat, any down lineman coming to him, and then the linebacker. That's the exact terminology we teach our players. It allows them to be aggressive and quickly learn the rules of the play. It's important to gain ground with your first step, especially because we're trying to gain horizontal displacement. We must gain our ground and engage defenders quickly in order to move them adequately so we can have room for our dive player. Finally, our front side down blockers must identify or anticipate linebacker movement. A common way to defend power, as most coaches watching this know, is when the guard pulls, the linebacker's keying him, he'll scrape with him. So if this tackle has no threat and he's going to work to the backside linebacker, he must anticipate this movement and take an angle that allows him to intersect the linebacker that's coming to him. If the tackle runs right where the tackle is, he'll get over the top of him and he'll defeat the block. So anticipating linebacker movement is a very big key. For the pulling guard, we utilize what we call a skip pull. The skip pull means that our lineman's feet are going to, his backside foot will cross behind his front side foot in a skipping motion, and then he'll stay parallel to the line of scrimmage with the shoulders while working up to level 2. We like the skip pull for the reason I just said. The lineman stays facing our goal line, looking downfield at who he's going to be attacking, and we feel he can very quickly move and find the way to fit in the line of scrimmage, and then very quickly identify the angle to take to work to the play side linebacker. Our pulling guard's going to look for the first play side opening that he can find. And of course, we're trying to down block on the front side to create movement. But the first place he can fit, A gap or B gap, he's going to take it because the fullback is going to take the same thing. That means he's always in position to be a very good lead blocker for the fullback. Our backside tackle, we can take his block a few different ways. And it's based on what our center can do. If we have a center that can back block effectively and he doesn't need help, we'll base block the tackle. If our center needs help on the back block, either based on the matchup or if it's a 3 technique that has a good distance to go, we can step down in the hinge, meaning we'll block inside first and then work back to the backside edge first. Whenever possible, we like to train our center to handle the back block on his own to allow our tackle to base block. If we do need to hinge, then that's just fine too. It's really important now to talk about one of the big benefits of the Tex-Bone and triple option in general, and that is we're blocking plays for touchdowns. Most one-back plays are not blocked for touchdowns. In fact, they're blocked for first downs. And let me give you an illustration. This is a one-back, 2x2 open power read play. Now, power read's part of the Tex-Bone. It's one of our 3 varieties of power. In this formation, however, against a 3-4 defense with 2 high safeties, looks like cover 4, there are 2 unblocked level 3 players. If the quarterback gives the ball in the sweep, the play side safety is free to engage and tackle the running back. Now, of course, a really good player can make the level 3 guy miss and make a big play. That may not be the type of guy that you have consistently. If the quarterback pulls the ball and runs inside, the backside safety at level 3 is now for you to come and tackle the quarterback. Of course, you'd like your quarterback to be able to make that guy miss, but that may not be the reality. I would describe this as a play blocked for a first down. Everyone on level 2 and level 2 is accounted for, but the level 3 defenders are not accounted for, and they can be problematic. The counter to this is option football, where you're going to match your formation, especially in the Tex-Bone, where you can be in the spread versus just a Flexbone, to block all the play side defenders and leave the unblocked defender as far away from the ball as possible. There is always an unblocked defender because someone has the ball, and so there's going to be an extra tackler at some point. Here's what I mean. Let's go back to these same diagrams. Here's our pistol Flexbone. We talked about our play side safeties rules, play side wings rule. Too high, he's going to block that safety. When we're in a 2x2 open, running one back power read, that's the same safety that was unblocked. In this case, we're blocking everyone at the point of attack. One of these two backside players, a corner or safety, or a linebacker may be unblocked, but he's as far as possible away from the play. That's the design of option football, picking everyone up at the point of attack. When we go to one high safety, it's the same thing. We don't want to leave the free safety in the middle of the field. That's why in tandem, our pulling guard and our play side wing are working for the scrape safety to the scrape linebacker to the single safety. Anyone that's free is going to be someone way on the backside as far as possible from the point of attack. We consider these to be plays blocked for touchdowns, not first downs. And here's our spread look, our 2x1 open look, where we are blocking this play for a touchdown by picking up the safety rather than leaving the safety. All right, coaches, we're going to move to some film now. We're going to see a variety of formations and personnel groups. We're going to see all of our different phases of our option play. So our first one, we're in Flexbone. We're in shotgun Flexbone, and we're going to be giving the dive on this one to give you a spoiler, but we'll talk through how we're reading this dive. Remember that our quarterback is reading the defensive end, and he wants to give the ball unless he can't give the ball. We're going to be going to the left, so our front side down blocks are working to their right, and our tackle is going to work to pick up this backside linebacker. And the first thing I want to show you, we'll probably run this several times, is how our tackle anticipates linebacker movement. So after he goes gap down, nothing's there, he's going to work to this linebacker, and he's going to change his angle so that he can pick up number 5. He doesn't run where he is, he runs where he's going. Our backside guard now is pulling for the front side backer, and when the front side backer is picked up by the tackle, he's going to continue up and try to find a safety. Now let's move our attention to our dive key. The quarterback's going to get his eyes right on the dive key, and hopefully you've learned by now, our goal is to give the dive unless we can't. Our fullback's working to the A-gap, and our quarterback's stepping downhill towards the center. This is a fairly easy read. I'd say it's about as easy as it gets. The end is clearly upfield. Our down blocks create a lot of movement. Our wing, let's talk about our wing's job. Our wing sees 2 safeties. He's working right to the safety. Well, he gets caught up on the outside linebacker, and away we go. All right, as we look at this from behind, we can focus on some of the same things. We're going to see our quarterback get his eyes on the dive key, but we're going to see the dive key working upfield. And this will be a pretty good read indicator for us as far as a simple read, I should say. We'll notice the fullback coming right through the A-gap and the quarterback stepping downhill. Pretty true path for our fullback on this. He's able to come right through the A-gap and read his guard at level 2. So we talked about the fullback's read on level 2. It's the tougher of the two, but when you rep this daily, you'll be able to read that guard pull, and that becomes a very successful dive play. Now we're going to look at our dive play again, or an option play. We're going to give the dive. We're going to read this end, but you can see we're coming out of a completely different look. In our first play, we were in Flexbone. Now we're in 2x2 open. This is spread defense all day long. We've got 3-4, cover 4. So our quarterback's going to read the same dive key. The dive key is going to be upfield, and we're going to be able to give the dive. We're going to motion a player down to become our pitch player. And again, we can bring our pitch player from a variety of different locations. You'll see the quarterback is stepping downhill, and he's working down to bring this dive point, this dive mesh as close to the line of scrimmage as possible. Down blocks on the front side, guard pull the front side linebacker, and the front side linebacker in this case scrapes, which opens up a really clear path for our dive on the inside. Going to the end zone now, we'll get a really good look at our down blocks and how our tackle is going to work up to cut off this backside linebacker. He takes an angle where he can anticipate where he's going to be versus running where he is. Our pulling guard does a good job of stretching this front side linebacker. If he wants to scrape, we'll keep him scraping. As you can see how this opens up the dive path for our fullback. One cut into the end zone. Now in this case, the unblocked player is our backside safety, but he's in man coverage in cover 4 chasing our pitch player, and it makes it very difficult for him to defend the diver. In fact, the dive player cuts behind him before he even knows he's there. So 2 examples of dive we've seen so far out of 2 completely different personnel groups with 2 completely different looks. Okay, we're going to be back to our 3-back flex bone again, and we're going to run one more dive play. It's going to be a dive to the left again. This one's a little bit tougher read for a quarterback, but he makes the right decision by working downhill for 2 steps. His play side foot's at the center, then his second step gets him square to the A gap, and our dive back is going to be through the A gap and the line of scrimmage. Really good job by our outside perimeter players. That's what I wanted to highlight on this one. So let's talk about our wing rules. There's 2 safeties. So our winger slot, no matter where he is, he knows he's going right to the safety. And we're one-on-one on the outside. And our split end, we didn't talk about our split end rules much, but our split ends for us always have the deep coverage. So our split end's on the corner. And you're going to see that we're going to get 2 good blocks at the point of attack by our split end and by our slot. And that's going to allow our dive player to bounce to the outside and pick up 19 yards on this power dive. Now let's get into the pitch phase. And we'll introduce our pitch phase by talking about our load path by our fullback. So in this case, our fullback is not going to run a dive through the line of scrimmage with the intent of handing him the ball. He's going to run the same path and then work out and block the dive key. This will allow us to get into the pitch phase. So our quarterback has to learn to identify the first linebacker outside of the box because he becomes our pitch player. We'll go into more detail on this, of course, in our courses on the Tex-Bone through All Access. So as this play starts, our fullback is going to work to the outside off of his dive path and block the contained player. You can see it's not a great cut block, but he gets them on the ground and are close enough. Not a great block, but he does well enough, and our quarterback's going to get to the perimeter. Everything else is the same on our power. We're down blocking on the right side, and our left guard's going to pull around for the front side linebacker. Our 2 perimeter players, or 2 receivers, have the 2 deep defenders. So when we get to the pitch phase, it's a quarterback's ball unless the pitch player takes it away from him. In this case, the pitch player is covering the back. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. In the pitch phase, the quarterback's keeping the ball unless he has to give it up. And when this pitch key widens and takes the pitch player, our quarterback knows with no hesitation that that's going to be his ball. And of course, this becomes a really nice gain, which is why I selected it. 45-yard gain out of our unbalanced flex bone. So as we look at this in the end zone, let's talk about, again, being multiple in formations. We're in a 3-back formation. We're in Flexbone, but we're an unbalanced Flexbone, meaning we flop both receivers over. Lots of different ways that you can formation and use your personnel to give you advantages as we go through. So let's take a look at our fullback load path, and I'm going to pause it right at the point of attack. We want this to look like it could be a run. And we're pulling off a little bit, but essentially we're giving the defense the look that we could be handing this off to the fullback before he works out to block the dive key. So again, we call this our fullback load with our power option. Everything else is the same. Let's talk about the 3 technique also while we're here. A lot of power schemes, and they're not wrong, would double team at the point of attack and try to work him to the goal line. We choose to get up to level 2 quickly and try to wash him down to create room for this dive player. Now, of course, on this one, it's a load, but what we do with our lineman is not going to change. So we load the fullback, quarterback gets to the perimeter. Here's our pitch key who's covering the pitch, and we're off to the perimeter. Clip from the same game. We're going to run the same play, and actually we're going to show you the same formation. Unbalanced flex bone. We're going to have the same dive key, the defensive end. the same pitch key, the outside linebacker. Off the fake, the fullback is going to cut the dive key. The quarterback gets to the pitch phase. In the pitch phase, the quarterback's going to keep it if at all possible. And we do a nice job at level 3. We pick up all the near defenders. The defender we're leaving, coaches, is the furthest guy from the football. And it's a 37-yard race to the end zone, and we get there before their backside player can get there. Here's another formation. We're going to be in an unbalanced formation again. We're in an unbalanced 2-by-1 open, which means that we can motion our split end. So we've taken, if you can just imagine a pro slot formation where this slot would normally be off the ball, we've stepped him on to allow our X, as much most people call him, to be a guy that can motion. So now we're going to motion him and make him our pitch player, creating a pretty unique formation, a pretty unique spread formation to run power option. We still have a wing and a slot, so we have lots of folks to block on the front side, and we're going to be in a really good number situation to run our power play. This is another fullback load path. Here we have a very solid cut on the dive player, so we're easily to the perimeter. And again, we're in a situation where the pitch key is going to cover our pitch, and the quarterback will keep the ball. Now, you'll notice this extra pitch at the end. That's not part of the plan. That's just a little bit of creativity. On the front side, our linemen are going to work their down blocks, gap, loop, or linebacker to the backside. We haven't talked much about the center back block. We have a 3 technique where the pulling guard is. So our centers have to work pretty far to back block. And if he needs help, our tackle can block down first to slow him down and then hinge back. No hinge. Our center does an okay job on the back block. There's a little bit of a twist. And we do a good enough job getting to level 3 to create a sizable gain. Another unbalanced flexbone, shotgun pistol alignment. We're running power option again with a load. In this case, we picked this one because now the pitch key is going to take the quarterback. For the first time they've looked at, they're forcing us into a pitch situation. But we talked about wanting to have our wing 5 yards away. Here he's a little bit more than 5 yards away because the quarterback had to take a pretty tight departure based on the cut block on the defensive end. But with a little bit of work, you can really make that to where it's not going to be a big deal. So the quarterback's job is to keep it in the pitch phase unless he has to give it up. In this case, he has to give it up. From the end zone, we'll see the down block at the point of attack on the 3 technique, back block by the center, pull by the right guard to the front side linebacker, and our backside guard gets a nice cut on the front side linebacker. Another new formation we haven't looked at. We did see some diagrams of this, however. So we're in a 2-by-1 open spread formation. We have 2 running backs in the game. We're going to identify our dive key as our defensive end, and our pitch keys are outside linebacker. We have a front side slot versus a wing, but his roles are the same. He's going to work to this front side safety, and that way we're not leaving anyone at the point of attack. This will be a live dive read. The defensive end comes down and tackles the dive on our true power triple option play. The pitch key is going to work upfield and cover the pitch, and the quarterback's into the alley. Watch this from behind as this is the true dive read. We haven't seen this scenario yet where we run a true dive and the dive key takes it. But this is what it looks like. The dive key comes down. The quarterback's first thought is, as you've learned by now, give it to the dive unless you can't. Here he can't. So he's going to take it and work to the alley. Now we're back to spread. 2x2 open. We're going to motion a player to get him into pitch relationship. Read the dive. The dive's taken. Now we're going to work out to the perimeter. This clip's on here because our play side slot actually makes a mistake. He blocks who we would like to option, which just leaves our quarterback to option the next player. A scenario you may not see a lot. Obviously, you don't want your players to block the wrong guy. With a little bit of practice, your players will learn just to go on to the next thing. So our quarterback in this case now sees the pitch keys blocked, finds a safety. The safety fills to take him, and we pitch the ball out to the pitchback. Look against an odd defense. Our play side tackle isn't going to wait for the squeezing defensive end. If he comes down and takes the dive, that is fine because we'll get to the pitch phase. He's going to work through as quickly as he possibly can. So when we're running power, we're not waiting on anyone. We're not worried about the blitz. We're not worried about a pinch. We're going to let things happen as they happen. And we're going to drill every day how to react to these different things. Now we'll look at a red zone play. Again, this is blitz proof. There's nothing that we don't like in any scenario. So we have our dive key. We have our pitch key. We're going to bring our pitch motion man around again. Now, we've seen this motion 3 times, but it's not the only way that we'll motion with this. We could start him on the same side and bring him back. There's a lot of ways that we can motion and get a guy in a relationship to be our pitch player. So the dive key comes down to take the dive. The quarterback gets the pitch phase. The pitch player covers the pitch back, and the quarterback takes advantage of his block by a split end and a slot player, and he takes it into the end zone. So let's watch this from the tight view. We have a forward technique or a head-up player on the tackle, a good indication that he may be coming down to take the dive. But as we talked about, our tackle wants to avoid him. He wants to get off as fast as he can. If he tackles the dive, that's fine. And that's what's going to happen. Our tackle is going to be able to get free of the defensive end who's squeezing. But as you can see, he's taking the dive player, and the quarterback's going to go to the edge. I mentioned more motions, and let's look at additional motions that we run right here. So we're 2x2 open. We're going to bring our backside wing down just like we started him before. And the defense is going to anticipate that he's going to come around as we showed in our previous clips. Instead, he's going to work back to where he started to become the pitch player to the boundary. So we consider this a sort of a counter play where we bring the motion player back the same way that he started. Nice job on level 3. Our pulling guard, as you'll see from the tight, does a good job of finding the middle linebacker. They're in a 4-3 structure. And we're able to get the ball pitched to our pitch back. If it works once, run it again. So we're going to run the same thing. We're going to bring our motion man down. And notice this time how the defense rotates. When he takes off, as if he's going to work around to be the pitch player, or in our offense fly motion, safeties move with them. And we take advantage of the fact that safeties and linebackers are going to move with this motion. And we're going to run this counter motion back to the boundary. All part of this basic triple option power play. So here comes a motion as if he's going to work around. The safety rotates. There goes the safety. And now they're one man short to the boundary. So, coaches, I hope that film gives you a good idea of some of the things that we do with multiple personnel. We saw spread, we saw flexbone, we saw unbalanced, we saw a number of different ways that we run our power option.
Coach, wow, that was an amazing presentation. Man, coaches got their money's worth today. I think this is going to be about an hour and 20-minute webinar. Really excited how you've just merged everything together. I'm going to kind of turn over to you, Coach. So, Coach, you've got these videos out. You're trying to help coaches. You've made this amazing playbook that's going to be on CoachTube and be on Amazon. Coaches, depending when you're watching this, we're filming this in December of 2019. Coach Austin's Tex-Bone playbook will be on Amazon probably March or April of 2020. But his PDF playbook is on CoachTube as we speak. Coach, anything you're excited about the system? Anything coming up that that maybe we don't know about yet?
Yes, sir. And we're going to try to keep making this Tex-Bone materials that are available to coaches ever expanding. We're working on a drill manual, so you can have all the drills you would need to implement at any position, at any level. They're going to be straightforward. They're going to be plentiful. So we're going to try to have a really thorough drill book. We're going to be trying to add courses. We talked about one idea, adding in that shotgun QB sneak play. Of course, there's other things that we haven't quite touched on yet. We haven't done anything under center yet. So there's plenty of content that we're going to add. And I want to thank all the coaches for their time today. And again, I can't talk enough about the mission of All Access, which is coaches helping coaches. It's an honor to be able to share what I have. I'm available. Here's my email address. I'm available through my website. I work with some different camps during the summer for prospects, but I also, as much as possible, can make myself available to come to you and help you with the Tex-Bone if that's something that your coaching staff and your school would like to have.
Awesome. Coaches, I want to mention with the CoachTube website, it's a lifetime guarantee. The course will never be deleted or taken down. That's a CoachTube guarantee. And anytime myself or Coach Austin upload new material, in fact, I'm going to admit during this webinar, I'm sitting there, I just updated 2 of Coach's courses and added about 20 minutes of game film that he had sent me this morning. So anybody who had already bought that course, that next time they log in, that game film would be there. If we upload another chapter, or we add another PDF to once you bought the course, there's never there's never an upgrade fee. You never pay again. Once you've bought a course for $20 or $15 or whatever it is, and we're offering the whole system, for different price ranges. There's a run bundle, there's a pass bundle, or you don't want the whole system. You like what Coach is doing. We have a whole system that's right in the mid $200 range, which includes the playbook and these manuals. Once you buy it, Coach, we're not going to ask for any more money. Anytime we upload things and add things, it'll just be part of the deal. So we're really excited about that. You got Coach's website there where you can have them come out and do a camp. And really, from an all access standpoint, I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, lifetime guarantee. And as we're doing this webinar, Coach and I have been working nonstop since both our seasons ended about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've been painstakingly working nonstop, upgrading all the courses and new videos. And Coach is going to sneak off to Hawaii. Christmas is about 6 or 7, 8 days away right now. When Coach gets back, O-line drill course, he's going to get on the field and put a bunch of new O-line drills on that course, and then he's got his drills manual. Coach, again, thank you. It's been a while. It's been a long webinar, so I think let's cut this off. You go climb in bed. You've got a plane to catch, and I've got to edit this thing and upload it to YouTube.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rick.